But we begin this morning with Secretary of State Blinken's warning about Russia's assault on Ukraine, saying the offensive now in its second week will get worse before it gets better. His assessment comes as Russia continues a broad range of attacks across the country. Moscow describes the onslaught as a special operation to capture what it regards as dangerous nationalists. The UN ambassador to the United States says a catastrophe was averted after Russia fired at Europe's largest nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine Friday, but no radiation was released. And this morning, questions over a potential effort to help some besieged residents get to safety. Chris Livesay begins our coverage in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. A ceasefire was planned in the strategic port city of Mariupol and Volnovakha this morning in order to allow for humanitarian evacuations. But that life-saving effort has stalled amid reports that Russian shelling continues. Heavy fighting has raged for days in Mariupol. At a hospital, a father sobs over the body of his 16-year-old son. Deaths that could have been prevented, Ukraine insists, if NATO enforced a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Something it decided against on Friday, lest it risk a direct altercation with Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said blood was on their hands. From this day, all the people who die will die because of you, he said. Russia claims they're not hitting civilians, releasing videos of missiles launching at precision targets. But on-the-ground evidence tells a different story. This is a nightmare. How is this possible? This woman cries in the northern city of Chernihiv. Just look at this. Despite a slow start to the invasion, frontline fighting is closing in on Kyiv itself. These jets bombing the city of Irpin next door. And with Russian tactics becoming more and more diabolical. NATO Secretary General accusing them of using banned weapons.
We have seen the use of cluster bombs, which will be in violation of international law.
Even nuclear power plants are in the crosshairs. U.S. officials said the world narrowly avoided a catastrophe during Russia's siege of Europe's biggest nuclear power plant, one that Ukraine said could have been 10 times worse than the Chernobyl disaster. All of it sparking Europe's worst humanitarian crisis this century. More than 1 million refugees have fled the country, already on par with the number of refugees who were displaced from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan in 2015. Dozens come to this shelter here in the western city of Lviv before leaving the country. That's 4-year-old Andrei, exhausted after 20 hours of sleepless escape. His father stayed behind in their besieged city of Kharkiv. Now, he only has his mom and his big brother. Every day begins with a text to our relatives, says 16-year-old Dennis. We ask, are you alive? The UN warns more than 4 million people, that's about 10% of the Ukrainian population, could be displaced in the coming weeks. But not all Ukrainians are leaving. The government says more than 66,000 men have come home to fight. Michelle?
Chris Livesay, thank you.